In today's video, I'm going to show you how to install our turn locks into a handbag. I am working on the Kiki crossbody bag, and this is the pocket flap. I've already marked out per the pattern where I want to place the center of the turn lock. So you go ahead and do that based upon whatever pattern you're working on or project. And then the next thing that we want to do is when you get your turn lock from us directly, this particular style, it is already going to be screwed together, the front and the back, with screws. So you're going to remove those screws. So you have these two portions here, your screws, and then the actual turning mechanism right here. I'm going to work with the flat portion right here, which is the back, and use that as a template to determine what I need to cut out on my turn lock. So or I should say on my flap right here. So what I'm going to do is make sure that the center marking that I went ahead and placed on my fabric is centered into the large circle right here. I'm going to grab my removable marking pen now, and I'm going to trace around the center here as well as these two holes to get the placement. All right, now that that is done, I know approximately what I need to cut out in order to get my turn lock installed. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you can either use your scissors to cut this out, and you are going to be working with a completed flap because this needs to go through both the right and the wrong sides, or if you want to call it the exterior and the lining, depending on how you're installing your turn lock. So it's not done just with a wrong side being shown. You need to have it actually constructed together like this. And that'll make sense in a moment whenever we get moving along here. So I'm actually going to be working with a die that I purchased on Amazon. And I like to have an additional cutting mat right here to protect this one because I'm going to be punching pretty hard here. So here is my die set. I'll put a link in the description box below that I got on Amazon. And I did find that this one seems to be the best match for this particular turn lock. So I'm going to need that. I am also going to work with my hole punch, and I'm going to make it switched over to the largest hole, which is 4.5 millimeters. All right, so let's go ahead and put this behind my project. And like I said, it's going to be different if you're using scissors or if you have a different type of press. So I'm going to go ahead and get this centered over that main circle right here. It's a little bit larger, which is what we actually want. And then you're going to need a hammer as well. So I'm going to go ahead off camera here. I'm going to hammer this to try to pierce through all of the layers so that I have a complete cutout right here. All right, I've got that initial hole punched out, but that's not going to be large enough for our turn lock. Let me go ahead and show you. So if I were to place the right side of the turn lock facing up on top of the right side of my project, flipped it over here, then you can see that I still don't have my screw holes completely exposed. So that's why when I like to go ahead and use my leather hole punch to help me continue to punch out the existing markings here that I made. So you might be able to see the little purple right here. So I'm going to go ahead now and punch those out and see how it fits after I do that. Okay, let's go ahead and see where we're at and see if we need to do any additional cutting. So far, this looks really good. So let me bring this a little closer and hopefully we can focus right here. So you can see that I've got both the screw holes shown. I'm going to flip this over and make sure that I'm nice and even and it's not skewed at all. And I think that looks nice. So we're going to flip this back over. We're going to add the, if you want to call it a washer. And on my particular style turn locks, the textured side should be facing outwards. Place that on top. We're going to grab these screws right here and screw this in. All right, the turn lock has now been installed on our pocket flap. All right, now we're going to go ahead and install the male portion of our turn lock onto the opposite side of our project, whatever that might be. For me, on the Kiki crossbody, it is on my front exterior A panel. You want to make sure that you already have your stabilizer ironed on if the pattern calls to do that. That gives it a little bit more structure. And I have a specific marking on my pattern piece for the male portion of the turn lock, which I've already transferred over to my fabric. But if you don't have that on your pattern or you're working on a project without a pattern, the way to determine where to place your turn lock, you basically want to put your pieces together that you're going to go ahead and have your turn lock on. And then you can kind of figure out where the center is by using your pen and marking that. And that'll give you an idea of where you need to go ahead and place that. Then it's very important right here that we get the prongs installed in the right direction. So some of the turn locks have the prongs where they're going to be placed horizontally, if you want to call it, just like this. But this particular turn lock is opposite. So you want to have those prongs vertical. So they're going to be just like this installed. You can see that. And you want to always check, if you want to check that on your own, depending on what turn lock that you would be using, go ahead and insert that into the female portion. And then if you go ahead and line everything up, which I'm not doing precisely because I've already got my marking, but just like this, you can then go ahead and take a peek at where the prongs need to be positioned. So as I said, it's basically in a vertical position right here. Now the next step is going to be to place your washer on top of your panel that you're installing the male portion of your turn lock, and make sure that that center dot that you made on your fabric is in the center portion of the washer. Then you can go ahead and cut slits into the portions of the washer where your prongs are going to be. For my particular style of washer, it's going to be the top and the bottom openings there on the washer. Once you do that, you're just going to go ahead and grab your male portion of your turn lock, and you're going to go ahead and insert that, which I've already cut my slits. Go ahead and add your washer to the back. Now, if you didn't already add stabilizer, you do want to add a small portion of stabilizer there before you put your washer on. Go ahead and add your washer, close your prongs towards the center. And then add a piece of duct tape to the back. That helps to protect the prongs from rubbing through to the opposite side of the fabric. And then you can go ahead and add your front portion and take a look at it. Everything should be installed nicely. And that is how you go ahead and install a turn lock in your project.